Okay.
You're on.
All right, thanks. We have a motion to open the meeting of the September 5th, 2024 Groveland Community Preservation Committee.
I make a sole motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so this is our first meeting of fiscal year 2025 for the CPC. And we have some new members, so I'll just go over who represents whom. So my name is Mike Dempsey, and I represent the Conservation Commission. And let's see, we've got Ed Watson representing the Board of Selectmen. We've got Linda Frio representing the Historic Commission. We've got Adam Haywood representing the Finance Board. We've got DJ McNally representing Planning. He's not here tonight either. And we have Kim Jackson representing the Housing Authority. And next to me is Patrick Molina representing Recreation. So thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. And I think DJ sent his, sorry that he couldn't be here. And Linda may show up, we don't know. But we do have a quorum of 5 members here, so we can have the meeting. So before you, members, is the agenda that I put together, and quite a few things to tell everybody about, especially for anybody who's new to the committee. So the number 2 on the agenda is appointment of the chair of the committee. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on this. Linda, you're here.
I was considering putting my name in for chair,
Yeah.
but I kind of got tied up. I'm working second shift until next summer.
Yep.
So I really, my schedule is a little abbreviated when I get home at 1:30 in the morning.
Yes, yes.
But I had a couple conversations with Ed and Adam,
Yep.
and Adam showed a lot of interest, and so I would like to nominate Adam as the new chair.
The only thing I would say is, if you've never been on the committee before, I don't know if it's a great idea to be the chair starting off, because we don't have an administrator, so a lot of the work falls on the chair. So,
I'd be willing to take it on. Obviously, I would assume I get a little assistance on a turnover from you and kind of, steer me in the right direction.
And I know you've handled a lot of it by yourself for many a year,
yes,
but if it fits into any of my schedule, I'd be more than willing to assist. But I don't think I should be the chair when not being available for the
Yep.
next 9 months.
yep.
I'll second Adam's nomination.
Do you have any more specific thoughts, Mike, about, who should be the chair? I sort of got the implication that maybe you would like to be chair, but I didn't hear that specifically.
Well, I'm more than happy to give it up, but I just want everyone to be aware that being the chair of the committee doesn't just mean running the meetings. It's a lot of work. And the next thing we're going to talk about is the fact that we don't have a CPA administrator to help us out. So the burden of the work is going to fall on whoever the chair is primarily. So if Adam's willing to do the work, I'm more than happy to give it up. But if Adam doesn't want to do the work, I would be more than happy to take it on.
I would defer. I'm new at this. I'm new on the committee. I don't have a lot of experience about it. So, I would, whatever the majority goes, I'm happy to throw my hat on that side.
Okay. All right, so any other questions before we take a vote? All right, so all in favor of Adam being chair, raise your hand.
Okay.
Okay. Looks like we've got it. It's all yours, Adam.
Yeah, bring it on.
You made the agenda, you keep going tonight.
All
Well,
right,
maybe this is just a clinic in how to run the meeting. So this is.
I got my
this is-
notes out. I'm
right, this is
ready to go.
perfect. This is a perfect forum for you to, show them how it's done.
okay, so you want me to talk about some of this stuff, Adam?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd say just carry on and then we'll
Sure.
go from there.
So as far as the Community Preservation Committee administration person, Ed knows this. We've taken votes, and Linda too, we've taken votes several times to hire somebody, whether it's 5 to 10 hours a week, certain times of the year, as a part-time administrator to be paid for out of community preservation administrative funds. It isn't that we don't have enough money, it's really finding the person. So we thought, I worked with Rebecca, and we thought that we could hire somebody part-time as part of their other jobs here in Town Hall, but it turns out you cannot do that. In order to have a CPA administration person, that can be their only municipal job. They can't squeeze it in with something else they do. Unfortunately, because there's nobody really available that we know of to do the job. So if we could find somebody, it would be great. I think we've even got a job description somewhere, but, I don't know if we can really fill this position or not.
Mike, question?
Yep.
Is that what you say, you can't have another municipal job? Can you combine CPC administrator with another municipality?
Yeah, you could do that.
So if, there's certainly, around us, there's certainly municipalities that have CPC committees, and maybe they have an administrator that's 10 hours or whatever, and that we could jump on there.
Certainly possible. We'll have to pursue that with some other local towns, right?
I have opened up communications with West Newbury to do just that.
They got a fairly active committee?
They do, but they have not had an administrator, and they just hired an individual. I'm not sure the hours, but it also correlates with some other work that they've been doing. So it's something that we had been considering as a discussion point, but no decisions or formalities had been made.
Okay.
Is the job description out anywhere, where it could be publicly seen or not yet?
We have a current job description for the CPC administrator, but we have not posted it anywhere.
Okay, well, my wife was born and raised in Merrimack, still got a lot of connections over there. I can have her inquire. And I've got a few connections in Georgetown, I could inquire that way. And then if there's any interest at all, I can relay that back to you for a posting or somehow connection. Is that acceptable?
if it's acceptable to the board, I would be more than willing to facilitate that on my end.
Could we see the sort of job description, so we'd have maybe a better idea of like, okay, these are the tasks that we're looking for this admin to fill and that sort of thing?
Of course, if the new chair would like to put it on the next agenda, we can certainly do that.
Awesome. Because it sounds like, what we don't want to do is have multiple tracks when, kind of undermining each other's efforts. If you're already making efforts to, find out if there's somebody who could align, who already is doing something similar, so would have a better experience, and maybe you are checking in someone else, we shouldn't just blast, send it out LinkedIn to,
My will be casual inquiries.
so,
I do not open mouth and insert foot. I just
yes, dear. Right,
done
got
that a lot in my life. And I've, got tired of chewing shoe leather.
it, reasonable. So is the idea that everybody comes back at the next meeting with like, okay, this is what we did, and maybe at that point, talk about what's the best way to go forward?
I feel like we should probably let's see the job description, let's, have a conversation about it maybe before we reach out. I feel like that'd be a great job for someone in town. A part-time, a mother or something that, is looking to fill a couple hours. So I would say let's have a look at it, maybe post it ourselves, and then, if we're not getting any bites that way, then reach out.
Rebecca could probably email it to us all, so we could look at it ahead of the meeting, right? You want me to do number 4?
Yeah, Mike, just run right down.
Just
This
keep
this is your
going,
meeting.
huh? All right, so I think that we need to make some small changes to the CPA bylaw. One is, as I was explaining earlier, is that the bylaw says we have 9 members, and 2 of those positions have either, the committee doesn't exist anymore, it's been dissolved, the open space and trails folded into recreation, and the affordable housing committee is kind of defunct. So those 2 areas, those 2 committees represent 2 of the 4 charges that we have under CPA, both affordable housing and open space. And so not having reps for both of those things kind of puts us at a disadvantage, I think. So it would be good to deal with that. So I'm not sure what the solution is. Potentially, I know the select board's talking about some kind of housing committee being reformed, so that could take care of that problem. And then what we could do is have open space folded into recreation, have 2 reps from recreation, one primarily doing open space and the other one dealing with recreation. So those are
Our board is-
possible things.
Our board has shrunk a little bit,
Yeah.
so we don't have a lot of members. So I don't know if that's the best idea, just because of the, lack of folks.
Yes. Well, this won't happen until next year anyway. It has to get voted at town meeting, so we're talking probably about, almost 10 months from now. So hopefully, maybe there'll be some more participants on your committee.
I've got to ask for an explanation.
Sure.
The senior member here. I got the CPC financial report in front of me, and you have open space as a
Yep.
category.
Yeah.
Now, what is that basically? Is that to acquire additional properties? Or is it to give subsistence to some of the town-owned properties that need a little sprucing up, or what?
Yes, I mean, you cannot use CPA funds to do regular maintenance for
No, I-
anything, right? But if you have a particular project, let's say you've got trails that are kind of worn out and they want to redo them or
Yeah.
refurbish them, you could do that.
Okay,
And of course, you could buy open space. Some of the things we've used that category have been obviously to buy a couple of properties over the years, but we've used it to establish new trails and also to work. We did another project where we worked with Bagnell to fund some of their school efforts for trails. So those kind of things.
okay, thank you.
Sure. The other change that we may want to address is what it says in the bylaw about terms, because even I'm not sure what, whether we go to 3-year terms or maybe 1-year term or something. Again, I don't know what the answer is, but that's another possible change. So I think maybe sometime over the next few months, Mr. Chair, that we should put on our agenda to look at the bylaw and see what kind of changes we might want to do.
Absolutely.
So in front of you, the handout was the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was March 21st, 2024. And I guess I'll make a motion that we approve these minutes.
We have those minutes here, and they, from March 21st.
Yep,
They look to be in order. You made the motion? I'll
Yeah.
second it.
yeah.
So do we vote on that? Oh,
Oh, it's,
no, it's okay, right.
sorry, I'm new to this, yeah, let's,
We're
let's
gonna
take-
look it up.
let's go ahead and take a vote on that. I'm going to abstain myself for not being on the board.
Okay,
Yeah, I think I should also abstain.
sure.
All those in favor?
Okay, so I just wanted to update the committee on the, our spring effort there against the Community Preservation Act in Groveland revocation effort. So I'm sure you're aware of it, that it came up this spring. And the committee, we really didn't do anything as a committee, but I did do quite a bit of work within the community to back community preservation, because I think it's very important. And fortunately, it passed to keep it 791 to 493. So I'm very happy that at least 63% of our voters felt that CPA is an important tool for us and supported it. So the only thing I can say is, this was the third effort to change it. In this case, it was trying to revoke it completely, but there were two previous efforts to reduce it. And So I don't think that we should ever take, community preservation in Groveland for granted, you know. Obviously, there are folks in town who don't like it. I don't really understand why they don't like it, but obviously, there are 493 people in Groveland, if none others, that thought that we should get rid of it. So along that line, I think it's important that we keep more community involvement with CPA. And so I talked quite a bit with Rebecca about this. And so some of the things that I think we need to do is I think we, board members, committee members here need to speak with our boards and committees and commissions that we represent about CPA. Not to say that you have to, say how wonderful it is, but just keep up a line of communication to what's being done, what we've done. Maybe you want to share the minutes from a meeting with the committee that you represent, or, talk about upcoming projects or status of projects, whatever, and some of this fits more in more cases than other. But, I know like finance always has questions about the financial impact of CPA. Recreation represents a lot of the projects that are being done. So those are just, two examples. And then more reporting on approved projects. So that's being done. Rebecca's updated the CPC website and keeping projects updated on there. Another one is project signage. We voted to do this several times, but getting it done has been a little tricky, again, because we don't really have somebody to do it. But Rebecca has her assistant working on this, so we're hoping that we'll be able to put some signage out so people know some of the projects that have been done over the years. And then a couple other things are publicizing community preservation exceptions, because we found out at a couple of the meetings that some people either didn't know that you can file for an exemption and not have to pay the CPA tax, or, they did it and they didn't really understand the process. And
Mike, can I get you a question on that?
Yeah, sure.
When is the deadline to file for that for the year?
I'm not sure, but you can basically file anytime, but when it kicks in, if you,
Well, I bring it up because I heard of someone who went to file it and they said, oh, it's already passed for this year, you missed it by a week. So I'm just curious what that date is. And, I don't think the 500 people that voted to shut this down should be discounted either. I think some attention needs to be paid to that, whether it's a financial thing where they can't afford it, or if they want to see other projects being done, if we're not doing enough. Something needs to be said for, the fact that it even A, got on the ballot, and B, was a relatively close vote.
63% of the people voting
40%.
kept it.
That's 40% that
Yeah,
said no.
but
That's,
I would
it's
call
not-
63% a landslide personally, but, we disagree. So I am not sure of the date. I suspect it's somewhere in April or May,
Okay.
previous to the
I'll look into that.
end of the fiscal year.
Who receives the exemption requests?
The assessor's office. And so I did inquire at the assessor's office, and she told me that like only one person filed for that, like nobody's filing for it.
I assume that this exemption is to get you, what, we're at 3%, is that correct?
Yeah,
So that they would get a 3% reduction in their taxes?
well, they,
Or is that-
no,
Is that what the exemption would do?
no, it would eliminate them paying the CPA tax. So the average CPA tax is like $250. So that, you know, if they got the full exemption, they wouldn't have to pay $250 of that CPA tax.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, perhaps you could speak on the criteria for the exemptions. That
Yes.
the people could learn something from that.
Yes, so I don't have it in front of me, so I would say what we should do is at our next meeting, put it on the agenda and we'll have it, so we at least know what the requirements are. I know off the top of my head that there's two exemption types. So there's, for seniors or older adults, there's one, and the income levels for that are two levels, either lower income or middle income. So you can actually be making, I want to say roughly about $90,000 a year as a middle-income senior and still be exempt from CPA. The second type is open to everybody, and that's only for low income, which is I want to say approximately somewhere in the high 40,000s. But that changes every year. Those numbers change every year.
So this is an agenda item right now. It's on our agenda today.
Yes.
Is there anything holding us back from having someone go talk to the assessor's office and come back with, this is the process, this is what you have to do, these are the requirements, so that we can at least post it somewhere, so that, you know, the 493 people who wanted to vote it down, at least you can say, well, we're at least, you know, you have an option here. Or
Yeah, no.
you may have some of an option.
No, I think we should put it on the next agenda, and I'll do the dig, and I'll get a hold of the assessor and or
It's
whoever.
on the
and figure it out.
website. There's one on the website. It's been on there for the last 3 years, 2 or 3 years. So it isn't like people don't know about it if they're really looking. But, you know, I think having another discussion with the Council on Aging to make sure they know about it, because I've spoken with them before, and either they didn't know about it or they weren't plugging it.
Well, if the
So-
assessor said there was like one person that applied, then people either don't know or they don't care.
Right.
And so we should definitely highlight,
Absolutely.
you know, hey, there's this thing, and you can do it, and this is how, and these are the requirements. And this is the deadline, which, totally reasonable.
Rebecca, excuse me, for my clarification, and I haven't been on the town website, where would I find like your posting and all this?
In terms of the application for the exemption, that would be on the Board of Assessors website page. And if you look at real estate forms, there's a list of forms that you would need to file with the assessor. So
Okay.
exemptions for elderly person, property tax deferral, real estate exemptions for veterans. So there's a list of applications, one of
Okay,
them
so
being
basically, Town of Groveland website, and go down and start picking categories.
grovelandma.com,
Assessor.
boards and committees, Board of Assessors, real estate forms.
Okay?
It's also on CPC.
I was just
Correct.
gonna say, okay, so it should link there too, because that's the exact topic.
It's on the community preservation
Sure.
page, correct.
Cool.
Give me something to do.
Really looking to fill that time overnight, huh?
At work,
Yeah.
it's boring, so. If I could do
Okay.
something to help the town, maybe. Maybe not, maybe just learn a few things.
The next item is signage, right? So, as I mentioned already, Rebecca and Annie are working on getting some signs in place for previously completed projects. So we did add to the project forms that are submitted when people apply for a project with the agreement that they have to build into their budget the cost of signage. So for certain projects, like the town clerk digitizing annual reports, obviously, we're not going to put a sign out in front of Town Hall for that one. But for, the playground at Bagnell or the Pines projects or, any piece of property that we've purchased should have a sign on it. Other towns do this. It's, par for the course, really, that people understand to see their hard-earned dollars at work and
So-
what they went to.
This has already been voted on and passed,
Yeah,
and it's just a matter of facilitating it?
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So we don't need to do anything about this one. I just wanted to inform everybody that's,
I'll volunteer to
going
go
on?
install them.
yeah, that's the
I can
the
dig a hole like-
installation.
Like nobody's business.
Well, actually, that's a question that could be asked by this committee. When an application comes in, did they include money for signage?
Yep, yep. It should be right in their proposal.
And I don't ever remember any coming in with a
No,
separate line item for signage.
Even if it's only, $30. I've never seen it, so.
There have been, but there's a few.
Few and far between.
The ones that I put in, but can't count those. So the next thing is forms. So we have a bunch of updated forms, and again, they're all on the CPC website that Rebecca has been using, and they involved something an agreement at the project start, an agreement at the project completion, and then items relating to purchase tracking, because I think Rebecca would certainly probably agree with me that one of the hardest things about managing CPA projects is purchasing. And that, that can involve anything from putting out a RFP for 3 vendors to buy, the elevator, the lift that was put in at VZ Park, and that took us about a year and a half to accomplish, and to finally pick a vendor for that one. 2, somebody needing to buy, for landscaping project, needing to buy some plant, $50 worth of plants. So it's quite a difference there. And then tracking spending. And so I think that the committee needs to have people focus on the management of the project being primarily done by our town administrator with help from whoever put the proposal in, rather than the person proposing it being the primary person that does the project.
That's really interesting, because the way it feels to me is like, here, Rebecca, go do all the stuff. And then there's, nobody really kind of knows, or, people who could help, don't get involved, or, it just seems like there's like a gap in communication where we could talk about how we can use these many hands to make the work lighter. Because, I'm sure you're inundated, but.
My only concern is just procurement laws and the fact that what happens is that it is still taxpayer dollars. So it still filters through our town accountant and our treasurer, et cetera. So we have to be very mindful of municipal finance. So when purchases are made, we have to just make sure that, we're not exempt from 30B. We're not exempt from those thresholds. We're not exempt from, the way that we pay our vendors. We still have to follow those guidelines. It's not just, here, you applied for an application, you get a lump sum of money, go for it. Have it. So
Right.
it's kind of like, so when we talk about the finances and monitoring that, well, the project manager, on most cases, because, not unfortunately, but some of the applications put forward were put forward by myself. So the reason that you're seeing that duplicated effort is because they're essentially projects that I submitted.
Sure.
But the other projects that I did not submit, I do work very closely with the applicant who puts in the application. So we have an application for Perry Park. So the Perry Park applicant would be Stephanie Bartelt. She was the one who put in the application. So she is the one who's doing all of the heavy lifting, and then she comes back to me and says, listen, I received 3 quotes from this so-and-so, this fits the scope of the project that I was looking for. Can you confirm that this within the guidelines? I say, yes, that's in conformance with the guidelines, you should move forward. But whether or not the committee does more in terms of inviting those applicants back in and reporting, that's where I think maybe we could get more hands-on, because then you're getting more of a project update from the individual working on the project, and it's a little bit more clear lines. The other project where I was the one who submitted the application, it's a little bit more blurry because
Sure.
I'm doing both sides of things.
Right.
But what Mike's talking about is more so, you just don't want somebody who was approved for the grant funding to just go buy whatever it is.
Right, of course.
Or to put something in the ground without the select board approval because it's, town property.
So like the move is to have you be the liaison between the select board or whoever needs to, making sure everything gets done according to spec. And then the proponent of whatever project is, doing the heavy lifting, saying, getting these things, submitting them to you to sort of quarterback, and then that's how it works, instead of you having to do all the lifting and then quarterback it as well.
Exactly. The biggest issue is the flow of monies, and my biggest concern is finances. So when people ask where their tax dollars went or where the CPA monies go, I want to be able to, and as we just described with some of the forms, be more detailed about these are the expenses, these are the invoices, this is the drawdown, this is what was done, this is who was communicated, this is when it was paid. And in order to do that, I have to have some role into the finance realm.
Sure.
But I completely agree that the project manager of those projects that are submitted by others is extremely important, and maybe there's an opportunity for the board to have more constant communication, because I do know sometimes the committee that only meets kind of more so to the fall. Maybe the meetings become more regular. I'm not sure. It's something for the board to discuss, but that, just for clarity on that one, I think there's some gray area with some of the projects that I personally had submitted.
Sure. And this sort of dovetails into the, the community involvement with CPA. Everybody who's a naysayer about it would want to know about the money aspect of it.
Exactly.
Like, there's a match, what does that look like? So I say, you're on finance, this has got to be of paramount importance to you, and it would be something that would be would move the needle, I think, on folks if they say, oh, wow, we're getting $800,000 that we wouldn't get otherwise because we are, making this, this sacrifice collectively.
The other thing that I was thinking is, I just happened to have been working the night of town meeting, so I really didn't know what passed. And I didn't go searching through the town warrant to find out. It was basically within the committee, if somebody could email out saying, okay, the ramp that goes down from the town hall and the set of stairs, we finally have a contractor, estimated start time is such and such. And then it would be better to, then I could spread the word around the neighborhood and, oh, yeah, they're starting to work on this, it's gonna make it easier. It's just basically positive communication.
I certainly don't think there's such a thing as too much communication. The more information we can get out there, the better. And
And-
I've been looking at some of the projects on the website, and I've seen it's been getting better lately, so,
Yeah.
maybe more of that, maybe a monthly update on them, or something to that effect.
Yeah, agree. I agree with that 100%. It looks much better
I
than.
know that we had approved, what was it? Down in the Pines was supposed to be canopies,
The shade,
the shades. Has that ever gone anywhere?
That has not moved yet, no.
Okay, and then we've got the ramp that's got approved. That's not gone anywhere unless you've,
I provided an update to the select board at their last select board meeting last evening on where we stand with that project, which will be going before the select board for use of town property and their approval of the plan.
oh, okay. And what else was,
Splash Park.
Yeah, there's probably 15-ish projects or so, like in various stages of
yeah,
of
okay.
whatnot, but it's true, like, it's tough to, like, find one, now this is better, because we're seeing more updates, but up to recently, it was tough to find the spot where, okay, this is everything that's going on in these 15 projects, this one is stalled because of this one is waiting for that, this one is moving forward, this one needs, there's a sinkhole, so we have to, there was a, total different thing here, like, and that, if it's visible, the more visible, the better, and then
I
the
think
more.
that- I
the more
think you're
folks
gonna
will-
have more town people, they spin down the pines.
Yeah.
Walk over and say, oh, Jesus, they're working on that, and on their way
Yeah.
out, and they're gone.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, my wife was saying that, "Geez, how many people are gonna use the dog park? Well, when we drive by, there's a minimum of 2 cars, sometimes there's 9.
Yeah.
And so it's being utilized, so which is a nice item. So, okay, that's all. I've been neglectful as far as not going on the website.
But at the same time, if the committee would like to provide a new type of way of doing business, the committee's never really followed up with the applicants to invite that back in for project updates. As part of the new forms I've been working on with Mike, we are now requiring those applicants to provide an update so that if it was ever called into question or somebody wanted to see where that project was in the process, we could then provide them those monthly updates. That being said, that didn't necessarily include coming back to the Community Preservation Committee. So maybe the committee
That's a
wants
great
to
idea.
discuss about having those types of reports reviewed by the committee or having those applicants come before the board to explain where they are in the process. I
What-
mean, it's up to the committee.
Let's put that on the next
What
agenda.
harm would it be to have somebody come, like, bi-monthly to give an update? If, like any proponent of any project that gets approved, come by to this board
Oh,
to say, this is what's going on. Or even just submit something in writing.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily think it would need to come in here and do the whole song and dance, but if we had a little
Unless we see
synopsis of-
something, and
Sure.
hey, it would be nice for you to come in.
But I think it would also give people, whoever submitted a project, a little enthusiasm to
Right.
say, oh, yeah, I sent them an email telling us that it's been started, we got this contractor, and we're at 25%. And then it would be passed around the board, so we, on the board, know that a project that somebody else submitted is actually progressing.
And I would
I don't
imagine.
want to dump it all on you.
Yeah.
That's not, no way.
Right, and I would imagine that people that are the proponents of the projects are excited to come and talk about them, especially if they're moving forward.
Sure, right?
So-
You get a little credit for your hard work.
Yeah, which was something that was talked about, in the select board. So that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I'll add that on the next
Add
agenda.
on the agenda, please.
On the-
So, Mr. Chair, I just want to answer some of this because, having been the chair for as long as I have, you'd say, gee, Mike, why didn't you do this before? But this goes back to not having a CPC administrator, really. I'm one person, I'm only a volunteer. I do the best I can with keeping things up to date. And I firmly believe that we have made no financial mistakes ever with CPA. I don't think there's ever been somebody stealing money, somebody misspending money. We've been very, very careful with that, with Rebecca and with our previous finance director, Denise, always kept very close tabs on how money was spent and how projects progressed. Over the years, there's been very few projects that weren't completed. Either maybe they never started for whatever reason, but as I say, very few that really have been ongoing or just not finished. The vast majority have been finished. And, I'm all for as much information. It's just that usually in the past, this committee didn't really want to meet more than 2 or 3 times a year. So that makes it difficult to have regular updates from project proponents. So if we're going to do that, we may have to meet more often.
Well, you have, coming up here on the agenda, is a meeting here in October, which would be standard procedure. What would be wrong with taking a look at the projects that were passed last year at the town meeting, bring the project managers in, and just a short discussion and update on what's going on?
Yeah, I think for all the open projects, because there's only a couple, really, maybe 3 or 4 previous to 2023 that are still open.
Well,
So-
let's start with the newest ones and see how that
2024?
goes. The ones that were passed at the last town meeting.
2024.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bring them in first, and then, and then see how that works, and then we can always, at the next time we meet, take 10 or 15 minutes at the start of the meeting and go back a year or two.
Yeah, and I don't think any of what anyone has said here today is any kind of referendum on your chairmanship in the past, or, like trying to cast aspersions or anything like that. This is just, I think this is just a group of folks who are just trying to see, how we can, one, lighten the load for someone who's working really hard for the town, and two, get information going the way it needs to go, so people, so maybe it's not 493 people that want to do away with the CPC, And so, I mean, we're in a place where it's kind of a crossroads, where we can, we can put our heads together and try to do, try to work together and sort of spread the effort out. And if it means more meetings, I mean, I certainly don't have a problem with meeting monthly,
I feel like it should be a monthly
Yeah, working on that, on this.
meeting. I don't think 2 or 3 times a year is going to be enough to,
Agreed.
because I'd also like to see, and we can add it on to a future agenda and have a discussion about it, but that the affordable housing component of this,
That's why I keep all my.
I'd like to see
That's why I keep all
an action
my-
plan to do something with that.
Should have looked it up.
Yep.
But,
I don't know, is that within the boundaries of this
Yes,
group?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's actually, 1 or 2 open projects for affordable housing, right?
Cool.
Yep.
Okay. Number 11, every year, and this again is part of transparency, is to have an advertised hearing scheduled so that people can come in and bring their project ideas or needs to us. A big part of our job, especially for recreation, historic, open space, and affordable housing, is for us to bring ideas. We are that's part of our job, but also to hear from other people who might represent any one of these areas, or even a private citizen to come in and say, hey, did you know about this, how we need to fix this basketball court in my neighborhood, or something like that. So I would suggest that at our next meeting on either October 10th or 17th, on a Thursday, that we advertise that and have it as our annual needs meeting.
Was there one last year?
Yeah.
Was it in October?
Yeah, we had
think
quite a
so.
few people come in.
Yeah.
I was,
yeah.
well, like, how did that go?
Let's see. The lady that wanted to do Perry Park,
Yep,
your wife,
yep.
who wanted to do the community
Community
garden.
garden, yep.
um,
We had
Ramp.
Rebecca had a lot of
The
ideas.
ramp, the canopies.
Yep,
There was a couple more. I can't
Yeah.
honestly remember. I'd have to look through the notes.
yeah.
Well, that sounds like a lot of people. So,
We had to put an extra row of chairs out.
Yes.
you
Really,
wanted to do Thursday,
let the record reflect that there are 4 chairs out there right now.
Thursday, you wanted to do the 17th of October
Yeah, if that's all right with
at
everyone.
6:30?
Yeah. So we'll just have to advertise it. So that's the only difference really between our regular meeting and this, is that we put an ad in the paper.
Now, this is no dumb question. What paper you to put the ad in?
Well,
Still have papers?
Yes,
Right.
I get the Daily News, but this is the Lawrence Eagle. But there is no more Gazette.
no,
We can
So-
use both.
yeah, well, right. It's the same paper, basically.
Oh, yeah, it's owned by the same company, yeah.
Yeah,
Just make sure it hits the crier.
It just needs to be a newspaper of general circulation
Right.
within the area. And both the Eagle Tribune and the Newburyport Daily News are of regular circulation.
Wasn't there a town meeting vote to do away with it, or was that another community? Do away with the advertising in the paper because of the problem that there aren't very many and many people read them. And to just post it in a different way? Maybe we didn't, maybe it was another community that I read about that.
It could have been, but it also could have been the Empowerment Act, because I do know that the state legislature has put forward some reduction of noticing requirements due to the very fact of what you had just
That
mentioned.
might have been it.
Yeah, because I notice every now and then we've got a communication through the electric company or the water department or something like that. I know we get the electric bill every month. Water bill only comes every quarter.
So you're not delinquent.
I don't know. I haven't written a check in my house in 35 years. The wife takes care of everything.
Who still writes checks? Checks and newspapers, you guys are killing me.
Well, she even has a book with all her passwords. I don't even know where she hides it. She basically says, "Go work."
So then for now, the hearing that we think we're going to have on October 17th, we said,
yeah,
we need to get it published. And for now, because that's the requirement, right?
Yeah.
We think?
yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it does make sense to try to modernize to the extent that we're able, but we are left with what we have.
Okay, so number 12 is our fiscal year 2025 request for proposals. So usually what we do is we have a document that gets updated every so often with changes, but what we've been using since 2023 and 2024 is pretty much been worked on in pretty good form. So what we need to do is just take a vote to release the 2025 request for proposals. We put that on the website, and, we can have copies here at our next meeting if anyone wants to take one and realize what it's going to take to put a proposal in. So, I'll make a motion that we vote to release the fiscal year 2025 request for proposals.
Should we see, should this board see it first before it gets released sort of generally?
If you want to, but frankly, I'd rather not delay it too much longer because we're already, usually,
Yeah.
it's, it's 3.5 months, so usually
Right.
it's due December 30th or December 31st, somewhere in there. So it really, if we skip another whole month, it's going to
Right.
really cut down on the time people have.
Okay. All right, so I'll second that. I'll second the motion then.
All right, any conversation?
No?
All right,
What we can do is, I can email it out to everybody, just so that everybody has an idea of
Right.
what people need to do.
I'm sure it's not,
No,
reinventing the wheel.
that's important that we know what the request, especially if you haven't been on the committee before.
Right.
To know what it is that we're asking.
Okay, you got a motion, you got a
got a
second.
motion, a second. Any other conversation? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
aye.
Unanimous?
Humming along.
Okay. So this is the 2020, I put on here the 2023 and 2024 project update. So most of that information is on the website. I was looking at it today. Things are moving along with almost all the projects. Almost every single one of them is either completed or in progress. But, so I'll just highlight a couple that are really almost complete or completed. Of the past 2 years, there have been 18 projects approved. So that's more in 2 years than we've ever had. That's a significant amount of projects. So some of the ones that are close to completion or have been completed is the, one is from the Washington Hall basketball courts. I don't know if you've been over there next to Washington Hall behind the fire station there. That one's done completely, and that's great. Washington Hall, the paving and hydro seeding is that one need a little more work on the parking lot?
That one has been completed, but there's an interest from the applicant to expand parking beyond what was
Okay.
already in scope.
Yeah, all right, so that one was done, and that parking lot is in great shape. It's just that maybe they wanted to make it a little bigger. The VZ Park visioning process report consultant, that one is 90% done. Rebecca and I are meeting with the consultant next week, and so that one's just about finished. The Lucille's Cottage Phase 2 study, that one's completed. We received a report from the consultants on that one, so that one's finished. And let's see, I think those are the ones that are done. And then, as Rebecca said, most of the ones in the Pines have started, the skate park, splash pad, pickleball courts, the shade, the Perry Park one, community garden. Those are all in progress. And then the town clerk file digitization, I'm not sure where that one's at, and the Washington Hall and the National Registry, I'm pretty sure Claire has started that one. So that's a quick update.
Yeah, we're working on that one.
Yeah, so you're good, thank you.
And we still need a grant agreement for that one as well.
Anyone have any questions for me on those?
I don't know, but I got a question on one that was already done,
Yep.
the rail trail.
Oh, the rail trail, okay,
Rail trail.
yes.
Is there a open or closing, do they close at a certain time, or is it going to be used at any time? And where I'm getting at
Yeah.
is, I went by there at 10 minutes of 9 last night, and there was an individual on one of those electric bikes, was pulling onto the rail trail on the Main Street end and heading down towards Center Street. And it, 8:45, it was 10 minutes to 9, it was pitch dark out. I was just wondering if it was open or closed at a certain time at night or not.
It's not posted. I don't think we have any posted hours.
Oh, I didn't see
So-
any, there hasn't been anything on either,
No.
on any of them. And, but probably you could use it at any time.
Yes, I would say yes, because I don't think we've ever said it can't be. Whether it should is a different question.
Well, and motorized vehicles zipping down it in the middle of the
Yeah, I
night
know.
seems like a bad idea, too.
Well, for
Did-
motorized bicycles, oh, it's legal on the,
But motorcycles and everything else are not allowed.
Right, yeah. One other thing I want to bring up is in the packet of items that I handed out, and that is an old project from 2017 it was a historic preservation project for the Vito Hand Tub Museum, which if you've never been in the Vito Hand Tub Museum, it's right behind this wall in the former front entrance of Town Hall. So, excuse me, this was a Phase 2 project that was put forward in 2017 and approved at town meeting. The work started on it, but because it was, there was some thing about I'm not sure exactly, so don't quote me on this, but the Firefighters Association was supposed to work on it with the Historic Commission, but it kind of fell apart. Also, kind of because at the time we changed, our finance director was leaving, and so she did some of the initial work on it, but then it kind of fell by the wayside. So there is a group that's been put together now that wants to pick up on that and complete the project. So the question is, if you read what Article 35 said, that it was to be completed no later than June 30, 2020. But if you remember seeing any other warrants, we don't put completion dates on projects anymore because town council at the time, back in 2019, I think, advised us that there was no need to do that, that we had control over ourselves when a project ends and when it doesn't end. So what I'm asking tonight is, do we want to take a vote to have them be able to continue the project?
I'd like to make a motion, I don't know if it's in order or not, to delete the sentence that it must be completed no later than June 30th, 2020. And just delete that out of the motion, not changing the dollar amount or anything
Yeah.
else. It's just, then that would give the the Firefighters Association and a few other people that are jumping in with Historical Society a little breathing room.
Yep.
Before we vote, I'd like to be heard on it. I think, grandfathering things in and whatnot, I mean, this is what passed at the town meeting, people who voted for it expected that, well, you would assume that people would expected that there's a timeline on it, and to come back years after the fact and say, well, actually, no, there isn't, seems like the kind of thing that might, upset folks who voted for it with one understanding. And so, I mean, what I think might make the most sense, and I mean, I'm all for the project, it's fine, but I think you put it on for the next town meeting, and then say, this was in the discussion board, you say this was previously approved. Let the town say yes to the date issue instead of us kind of end running around. It just seems more genuine than, I mean, I understand it's well-intentioned, and I don't think anyone would, necessarily put up a stink about it, but.
The dollars are the same, that inflation over 4 years, they're still going to be able to complete the project with the
Good question.
approved funds?
There's still about $52,000 in there that, some work was done for.
Is that enough to complete it?
I don't know, because I haven't,
I'm of the mind that until we know that answer, we shouldn't be taking a vote on it.
Yeah, okay, I agree.
Also reasonable.
well, I would say, two things on this. So you can see on the back of that page is the scope. But either we decide that we aren't having any more completion timelines on projects, right? Prior projects. Either we decide that, which we have the ability to decide that, or we say, sorry, to keep things transparent, we want you to come back with a new proposal.
It's either that, or could we bring this proposal back on the town floor and say to the people, to the public, that it's amended because we had problems getting design, problems doing this, that, and please, we'd like it to be approved without an end date.
What's our,
Let the town vote.
what's our authority? You said we have authority to do it. What's the basis for our authority to make the change of something that was approved by the town?
Well, that's because there's no statement in the CPA state law about completion dates. So according to the people at the Mass Community Preservation Coalition, I spoke with the director today and asked him this question, and he said, there's no thing either way. It's totally up to the committee that,
Would you write a letter to that effect, so that we can at least have that to say, this is the basis for why we're doing this, it's a reasonable thing, the town voted for it, and it's really a form thing that it didn't get done on the time frame, and now you wouldn't even set a deadline for any project now anyway. So then you would at least have a letter if somebody had said, well, I voted for it to this, and then why? So then you would at least be able to say, this is our authority. I don't think it would be hard to get, I mean, if it's true, I don't think it would be hard to get like, if the person said this is what it is, then just commit it to writing, and then we could, then I'd feel a lot better about voting on, proceeding, subject to the financial considerations.
I feel like we should put it on the next agenda and we'll, do a little digging and find out a little more information about it. I feel like we're not ready to take a vote unless you guys tell me otherwise.
so I think probably what we're gonna have to do is ask town council about it.
That's a perfectly good idea,
So
too.
we could get that done before the next meeting, but as far as, the scope of the project is, it doesn't meet what we would be asking today. So we could say, look, I'm glad you're willing to work on this, but the best thing to do is to put a new scope of work together, spend the rest of this year putting a new scope together, and then we just present it as a brand-new project for the next town meeting. The only risk I see with that is that, you've got this group of people, and that's why I brought it up this way, is you got this group of people who is really excited about doing something where the thing has sat there for 6 years and not done. So I'm not sure. I don't know what the best idea is, but yeah, if you want to put it off for till our next meeting.
Well, if we were to get some direction from town council saying that this is absolutely fine to do, given the scenario and all that
Yeah.
stuff, I think that would also be support for, okay, we have authority to do this, we sought out council and got it, and, thumbs up.
Yeah.
And then, but again, subject to financing. and
7 years later, there's no way they're gonna be able to do the same amount of stuff for that dollars.
Yeah,
it's-
right. They
So-
might need more money. so-
Right, so I feel like resubmitting is probably the angle on this one.
What, is there an angle where people can volunteer time and materials and make the gap? Or is that not?
No, you could do that.
The things that are involved in that could possibility of changing the glass, putting in a humidification system.
It's not $55,000.
No, it could, it's gonna stretch it, let's put it that way. A few of us that are past members of the fire department actually got the Vito pumping about 25, 30 years ago. And it's a very, I call it precious piece of equipment, because it's one of the original hand pumps. It was gotten in 1850, and the nozzle is made out of copper and was actually produced by Paul Revere. So, I mean, it's not something you leave out in the back barn.
Right, no. But like with anything, there's process. And, like, I don't know if anyone has any sort of, like, philosophical objection to the project. It's more along the lines of making sure we do things, in a sort of transparent way that, lets the people in town know that we're not just trying to, squeeze things through or, whatever, or cut corners. We're just trying to,
No, I want to make sure too that they're getting what they asked for and what was voted on. If they can't complete the project for that, then I feel like it's not fair.
super reasonable, right? Or if there's a way that they can complete it with that dollar amount and we can get the authority, then
Then
green light.
I'm all for that as
Right,
well.
exactly. So it sounds like.
Right.
see-
We'll
see
We'll
what
put it on the
council says
agenda for the
about it.
next meeting and.
Yeah.
So to clarify for town council, because Mike is correct, legally you do not have to put an end date on CPC projects. That is in fact correct. The CPC does have the authority under its regulations, its bylaws, et cetera, how it operates policies, that they can require applicants to submit a deadline of when they expect to complete the project with their application. And if they're not going to expend those funds by that deadline, they can come in and request an extension from the CPC. So the question for council is going to explicitly be that the warrant article states that the project must be funded or must be expended by X date. Since
Right.
it has not been expended by X date, do we legally have the ability to allow them to proceed?
Yes.
And then the next step would be to bring the applicant in, if they are allowed to proceed, to talk to the committee about whether or not they have the monies, the funds are projected within reason.
That's 100%.
Okay.
Like the way it should be. Yeah.
So, so it might not be a bad idea to have whoever's working on that committee also come in that night.
Yeah.
Tell us, talk about it with us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You'll read it in the Newburyport Daily News, whatever that is.
It's on except for Tuesdays, they don't deliver on Tuesday and Saturday.
Fair enough.
I don't know where this really fits in, and I think it might be on the community involvement with CPA or sort of a discussion about, like, advertising the benefits of CPA and whatnot. But on the recreation board, we talked a lot about, like, a lot of these projects are sort of part and parcel affecting recreation. And one of the things that we talk about is, it seems like we have a lot of assets in town that, for recreation, they're kind of fallow and not really getting used. And if dollar values are like, one of the drivers about, do we want CPA, do we not want CPA, what are we doing about CPA, these 493 folks, whatnot. We've been talking about like, hey, one way to couch it, to say, okay, we're getting these monies for for a parking lot. It's, 800 grand for a parking lot maybe, right? But if ultimately that parking lot makes that park more accessible and we could run leagues there and generate money for the town, then all of a sudden, something that looks like an albatross can start to look like an asset. And so one of the things, I don't even know how we would put it on the agenda or discuss about it, but I just want everyone to sort of take away like the concept that maybe there's a way that we can make some of these recreation assets, assets for the town and actually cost neutral or even positive. Because budget is everything right now, and everybody is talking about, I want to save $200 on my taxes. Well, if the town makes, 50 grand on a bunch of co-ed leagues in a year, right? And you start to pump that in every year, and this is happening. And it's not, doing a detriment to the town. People can still use the stuff. Then all of a sudden, maybe we're not so upset about, buying a parking lot with half our funds, half state funds. So if we're talking about how we're going to rah for the CPA, I think, a greater discussion about how we can use some of these assets, the skate park, all these things, I think it's something that would be fruitful. I don't know exactly how.
We'll touch, we'll
but-
talk.
But I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
your theory.
I think there's a really good opportunity here that we haven't yet taken advantage of, and I think we could with the right sort of management. Sorry.
So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, so we got next meeting, October 17th, 6:30 PM.
Yep.
Perfect.
And then there's the advertisement, because that's going to be the meeting where people come in.
Yes.
So that's right. Okay.
All right. Got anything else?
I have nothing.
All right. Make a motion to adjourn. at
Seconded.
7:45. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Unanimous? The end.
You're muted.